Hello, young humans. It's your old friend, Michael Chabon, and I'm here for story time. Today, we've got one that a teacher read to me when I was about 5 or 6 years old. I loved it. I never forgot it. It's hard to find. I had a hard time finding it when my kids were little. Once we checked it out of a library, that's the only other time I found it. But I have it here. It's not super well known, but it's really fun. It's called The Wedding Procession of the Rag Doll and the Broom Handle. And Who Was in It? By Carl Sandburg, who was a famous poet. He's the one who said the fog comes in on little cat's feet. And it's illustrated by Harriet Pincus, who is a wonderful illustrator. So let's just jump right in with the wedding procession of the rag doll and the broom handle and who was in it. And there you can see them on the title page. There's the rag doll and there's the broom handle. Here they are sitting on a bench in a bower in an archway made of flowers. Let's hear about their wedding procession. The rag doll had many friends. The whisk broom, the furnace shovel, the coffee pot. They all liked the rag doll very much. We have 2-page illustrations here, so I'll hold them out like this. And I'll move in so you can see. You see the rag doll and her friends, the coffee pot. You can see him, right? But when the rag doll married, it was the broom handle she picked because the broom handle fixed her eyes. See, there's the coal shovel and the coffee pot. But it's the broom handle that she decides to marry. Now, look, her eyes look okay, right? Fixed her eyes. What happened to her eyes? A proud child, proud but careless, banged the head of the rag doll against a door one day and knocked off both the glass eyes sewed on long ago. It was then the broom handle found 2 black California prunes and fastened the 2 California prunes just where the eyes belonged. So then the rag doll had 2 fine black eyes, brand new. She was even nicknamed Black Eyes by some people. See? There's a child who knocked her eyes off. But then the broom handle stepped in with some prunes and he fixed her eyes. When I turn the page, next time you see the picture, you'll see her. There was a wedding when the rag doll married the broom handle. It was a grand wedding with one of the grandest processions ever seen at a rag doll wedding. And we are sure no broom handle ever had a grander wedding procession when he got married. Here's the wedding. You can't see her face yet because her back is turned to you. But you see the start of the procession? Who marched in the procession? Well, first came the spoon lickers. Every one of them had a teaspoon or a soup spoon, though most of them had a big tablespoon. On the spoons, what did they have? Oh, some had butterscotch, some had gravy, some had marshmallow fudge. Everyone had something slickery sweet or fat to eat on the spoon. And as they marched in the wedding procession of the rag doll and the broom handle, they licked their spoons and looked around and licked their spoons again. Here come the spoon lickers. See her with her prune eyes? She looks pretty happy. And they're marching in the procession, and here come the spoon lickers. Next came the tin pan bangers. Some had dish pans, some had frying pans, some had potato peeling pans. All the pans were tin with tight tin buttons, and the tin pan bangers banged with knives and forks and iron and wooden bangers on the bottoms of the tin pans. And as they marched in the wedding procession of the rag doll and the broom handle, they banged their pans and looked around and banged again. And there you see the tin pan bangers. This is quite a procession, isn't it? So you can see that. Then came the chocolate chins. They were all eating chocolates. And the chocolate was slippery and slickered all over their chins. Some of them spattered the ends of their noses with black chocolate. Some of them spread a brown chocolate nearly up to their ears. And then as they marched in the wedding procession of the rag doll and the broom handle, they stuck their chins in the air and looked around and stuck their chins in the air again. And here come the chocolate chins. Look at those messy faces, but they look like they're having fun marching the procession. And that one's carrying a basket that says chocolate. Then came the dirty bibs. They wore plain white bibs, checker bibs, stripe bibs, blue bibs, and bibs with butterflies. But all the bibs were dirty. The plain white bibs were dirty, the checker bibs were dirty, the striped bibs, the blue bibs, and the bibs with butterflies on them, they were all dirty. And so in the wedding procession of the rag doll and the broom handle, the dirty bibs marched with their dirty fingers on the bibs, and they looked around and laughed and looked around and laughed again. I think one thing that Carl Sandburg, who wrote this book, knew is that sometimes it's really fun to get dirty. There's the poor, maybe one of these kids' moms trying to wash the bibs. But she's having a hard time keeping things clean. Next came the clean ears. They were proud. How they got into the procession, nobody knows. Their ears were all clean. They were clean not only on the outside, but they were clean on the inside. There was not a speck of dirt or dust or muss or mess on the inside nor the outside of their ears. And so, in the wedding procession of the rag doll and the broom handle, they wiggled their ears and looked around and wiggled their ears again. Can you wiggle your ears? I can't wiggle my ears. My grandpa used to be able to wiggle them, his ears. See, look at the ears on these people. Sometimes they're wearing a costume that makes them have big ears. Sometimes they just have big ears, if you're a mouse boy like that. Well, who came next? Who do you suppose? It was the Easy Ticklers. The Easy Ticklers were next in the procession. Their faces were shining. Their cheeks were like bars of new soap. Their ribs were strong, and the meat and the fat was thick on their ribs. It was plain to see they were saying, "Don't tickle me, because I tickle so easy." And as they marched in the wedding procession of the rag doll and the broom handle, they tickled themselves and laughed and looked around and tickled themselves again. You really are ticklish if you can tickle yourself. See the Easy Ticklers? That one's standing on his head. He's being tickled by a monkey. And that boy is tickling the tip of the monkey's tail with his toe. The music, you need music at a wedding. The music was furnished mostly by the musical soup eaters. They marched with big bowls of soup in front of them and big spoons for eating the soup. They whistled and chuzzled and snozzled the soup, and the noise they made could be heard far up at the head of the procession where the spoon lickers were marching. So they dipped their soup and looked around and dipped their soup again. Here they are. The musical soup guzzlers. Sorry, the musical soup eaters. The last of all in the wedding procession of the rag doll and the broom handle were the sleepyheads. They were smiling and glad to be marching, but their heads were slimpsing down, and their smiles were half fading away, and their eyes were half shut, or a little more than half shut. They staggered just a little, as though their feet were not sure where they were going. They were the sleepyheads, the last of all in the wedding procession of the rag doll and the broom handle. And the sleepyheads, they never looked around at all. Here we have the sleepyhead. Sleepy lion, sleepy kids, and the sleepy teddy bear with one eye shut. And this sleepy child sitting in the beak of that bird who's wearing a nightcap. I guess he's ready for bed too. It was a grand procession. Don't you think so? Here's the one coming up last. It's a little gnome person, and he's carrying banners on a stick and a sign that says, "Just Married." He's following the procession, letting everyone know what the procession was all about. It was the wedding procession of the rag doll and the broom handle, and now you know who was in it. I hope you enjoyed this book. I'm going to try to find a couple more books that are illustrated by Harriet Pincus because she's really wonderful. And in the meantime, I will be here again for story time tomorrow. Until I see you again, stay safe, be kind, have fun. Bye.